we look at the weapons of Loki.
This is the Kitsune clan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed.
Welcome, War of the Wizards, Part 3. Time to look at Loki. Hey, is Loki a wizard in the strict sense? Maybe not, but he's using magic and magic tricks. And he has cool equipment that I want to look at, so therefore we have him included here. We see his main equipment, the Chitauri scepter or the Infinity Stone carrying unit, or however you want to call that. It's a kind of a mixture between a lance and a sword or an axe, and I definitely like it. And he has 2 daggers. Isn't that a nice equipment? We have to test that, definitely. We start here with the daggers. Disclaimer 1. The daggers that I got here in EVA/PU foam are really pointy and they're really hard and they can penetrate cardboard. So be careful when you use stuff like that. It's 2 short blades, a pair of short blades. What can we do with this? If we look at the movie, we see Loki sometimes using one of these daggers, and then what he does looks vaguely like FMA, so Filipino martial arts, but Filipino martial arts usually uses a longer and a shorter blade. Here, 2 blades of this length, and in fact the length is between the long and the short blade in FMA. We should look at something else, and of course the simplest idea is to use Wing Chun, the double butterfly knives. They have a bit of this length. There are usually more cutters or strike type of blades, but there are some more stabby Wing Chun butterfly knives on the market, and we can use them in this way. It's not great, but it works. Whenever you have 2 short blades against longer blades, you have always the same trouble. You lack the range, you have to be fast, you have to have a working footwork, and if that works out, you can survive with that. Having 2 of these daggers is definitely not the worst thing to have. And of course, whenever the situation is bad enough, you can decide to throw one of these. Concerning footwork and reach, especially problematic is this against spears, because with these you can easily attack the feet, and due to the very short blade, it's basically not possible to protect the feet properly with these weapons. If you're interested in a bit of the Wing Chun mechanics and also the crossblock transitions we are using here, I will link some videos dealing with these aspects in the description box. Yet it will be no surprise, with 2 of these short weapons, what should we do? We try to somehow absorb the energy that is coming in, we try to get in bind, we try to close up, get in, and then stab. Against weapons like the axe, I suggest to go away and throw one of the daggers. Same applies probably to the spear. If you're really lucky and the attack is relatively high and you can properly step in and use your leg to control the spear, it might also work, but usually also here throwing might be the best solution. Yet I would also not consider these 2 daggers Loki's main weapon. Let's look at the Chitauri scepter. I really like how this thing looks. For me, it's the perfect hybrid between an axe, a sword, a short lance, or whatever. It looks like it could cut. Yeah, it has an Infinity Stone in, but we said we don't want to look at the magic aspect here, we want to look at the mechanical side. Let's first test it against an axe. And of course, we don't throw away the daggers. This is about Loki, this is about tricks, so we keep them at range in our belt. Against the axe, this thing works very nicely. It's also a bit head heavy, so towards the top, but it's not as bad as with the axe. Of course, what you cannot easily do is use the axe blade to stop an attack, but this thing swings really nicely. As I said, basically like a hybrid between a short halberd, an axe, or a very heavy sword. As it's so sword-like, you can use the common combinations that you would use with a long sword. Concerning the weight, you're closer probably to a great sword, but still you can use Meisterheuer and the typical flows that you would do with your other types of heavy swords. And that's how you can see this thing as a kind of unusual heavy sword with a rather long handle. While it is a bit of a disadvantage that you cannot use the thing for pulling like the axe. The swinging it's so much smoother. Against the polearm, the thing is really not bad because it's longer, so you can protect your feet if they get attacked. And the way the backside of the blade-like protrusion is shaped, this can be used to push away a spear and lock it. And then you of course have daggers to make the attack while you push away the spear, right? Against the sword, I have pointed out that this thing is not so much unlike a sword, so it works okay. Although against a sword, you recognize that this scepter is tip heavy, top heavy, however you want to call it, and that makes it of course a bit slower. Also, you could of course wish for a type of hand protection, so a simple crossguard, tsuba or whatever would help when you get into bind. Still, you can also use the tip to push away because there's this indent on the backside. And of course, you are not unarmed. You also have the daggers that you can use, and these ones have a crossguard. So in combination, this gives a really useful set of weapons that we have here. If you think tactic-wise, of course, you have two daggers. That means you can throw one dagger, then you have still a left-hand dagger, and you can use the scepter with one hand. More comfortable is probably throwing one dagger, keeping one ready, so that you use the scepter with two hands most of the time. But when you get into bind and in close fighting, then you can draw the additional dagger. Where does this leave us concerning the equipment? I would say the equipment that Loki has here, although he doesn't have it for long if you check it in the story, because he loses the scepter relatively early. And we also have to admit that the scepter is not really meant to be used in the way we are doing it here, but it works, and that's what it comes down to. Then we probably can rank him relatively high. This is a useful stuff. And if we compare that, for example, against the stuffs of Frieren and Negimagi that we looked at, I would think that this, what Loki has here, is superior. I can no longer test it against the Frieren stuff because that one is broken. If you have not seen that, check out the video. It's linked in the description box. Against the Negimagi wand, it's probably similar to the spear here, with the exception that the wand cannot cut. So I definitely see the advantage with Loki. More tricky is it against Gandalf, because Gandalf, that we already tested, he has the big wand that is even longer, significantly longer than Loki's weapon, and he has a proper sword. Still, we have two daggers here for Loki and one can be thrown. Maybe this would give him the edge. I cannot really test Gandalf's sword against Loki's scepter because Loki's scepter here is PU EVA foam, so the typical material for cosplay weapons. Gandalf's sword is more flimsy from the material, but we can of course see the comparison here against the normal sword, and we can then say, okay, probably Gandalf would be more flexible in the and faster, and therefore probably more versatile. And with the staff in, on the other hand, he would also have more range. So although I really like the Chitauri scepter, so Loki's main weapon as we have here, I still think that Gandalf has here the advantage. Shouldn't be shocking. Gandalf beat the Balrog, but of course probably using magic, although details are not clear here. But his equipment definitely has set the norm quite early. Loki's things here are a bit different because Loki is also different. I still think he makes a good addition to this league of wizards that we are looking at here, and these weapons were simply something I wanted to test. I think this scepter has some cool feel to it, and I think I have an idea how I could still improve it. As I pointed out, it's so top heavy, so if we could balance it a bit better, that would probably give it the addition. I know there's the other version of the scepter, so this, the one that we have here, is the retracted one. There's also a longer one, but then this is more of a halberd in overall feel, and I like that this one here has this sword or axe feel to it. So probably this was not the last time that we had a look at this weapon from Loki, and we could see in the comparison to the other wizards, he's pretty good probably, but still not the top. We will continue comparing more of the wizards in War of the Wizards. Hope to see you around next time when we do so, and we hope we could inspire you a bit.